Thank you, David. I hope that you can hear me now. So I hope you're having a good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you may be. And today I'm going to be talking about a special issue of frontiers that we are trying to put up. This is the issue on global excellence in ethnopharmacology in Africa. And the topic editors are myself, Professor David Katerere, Professor Mansour Sobe, Professor Fozi Mohamed Ali, and the topic coordinator is Professor Batile Komane. I hope I've not butchered anybody's name. So the whole idea about this issue is to try and give visibility to scientists working on African plants and make sure that the good work that they're doing is actually recognized and appreciated in the basically in the whole world. Well, before I go on with my presentation, I'd like to give a disclaimer. I am employed by the United States Pharmacopoeia, and the mission of this organization is to improve global health through public standards and related programs that help ensure the quality and safety and benefit of medicines and foods. However, today, all that I'm going to say, opinions I'm going to give, and any statement that I give today are solely of my own and do not represent the views of the United States Pharmacopoeia. And just on the tail of what the first speaker said, actually the USP has a quality monograph for frankincense for those who may be interested in ensuring the quality of their products. So the next thing I'm sure many of you will ask is why this special issue and why now? All of us who are here and anywhere else knows that there's a great deal of research that has been done or that is being done on the continent or on the continent's plants. And most of these end up as academic doctorate and master's thesis publications, which are within the universities where this was done and largely unavailable to the wider public. But in our view, as the people pushing for this special issue, is that there is need to document this work and to be recognized for the work. There's a lot of potential in discovering future medicines from plants. And I'll just give you examples of some two plants from which are African endemic plants from which medicines have been already been discovered and are in use. And we think that there's a lot of potential for similar discoveries in the future. In fact, we know that many drugs that are in the market today, some estimates put it at about even 75% of pharmaceuticals in the market having their origin in natural products and in plants. For example, we have artemisinin, one of the antimalarials that has saved us from resistant plasmodium. We have ephedrine, tuberculin, digoxin, reserpine, metformin, and so on, that were originally from plants or originally developed based on natural substances from plants. So there is a great deal of work on ethnopharmacology in African plants, and we want this to be recognized. They deserve to be recognized. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on between African scientists and other scientists all over the world, and we need to bring this to fore for that also to be recognized, because as we know, in this world, really, there are a lot of people who will always be involved in your work. You'll be collaborating with a lot of people, and that is how you succeed in doing your work. And the other important thing also about frontiers is that frontier has a very wide reach, and they they submitted manuscripts very fast, meaning that once your manuscript of high quality is within the system, within a very short period of time, you are able to get it published and available to the public. And hey, we all know for those in academia, it's either publish or perish. So let's get our work published in Frontiers and get the world to see this. So I talked about some examples of plants from which compounds have been obtained that have been used to develop pharmaceuticals. A good example is Madagascan periwinkle. In other texts, you might find this plant being called Mexican periwinkle because it's also endemic to Mexico. But this is one plant that from which a number of compounds, the alkaloids specifically, were obtained and have been developed into anti-cancer drugs. We have vinblastine and vincristin that are shown there. And these compounds have given drugs that are used to treat acute lymphocytic leukemia, acute myeloid leukemia, Hodgkin's disease, neuroblastoma, and small cell lung cancer, among others. Then we have another example is Phytosigma venenosum, which is a source of phytostigmine. I think most of you might know this plant as, I think it's called the Odile plant, which was the extract which was given to people to elicit truth. In other words, if there was a case of, for example, if there's a case of stealing, for example, and if it was believed that if you didn't steal, then you'd survive taking this plant, but if you did, then you die. Well, this plant has provided phytostigmine, which can be used to treat glaucoma, delayed gastric emptying, and anticholinergic poisoning, and is also known to reverse the effects of benzodiazepines, such as diazepam. And so it can be a lifesaver. So these are cases where the plants have given specific pure compounds that have been developed into drugs, but we do know the plants provided pure compounds that were developed into drugs. But we also have cases where the plants themselves, the extracts from the plants, are being used as medicines or dietary supplements or for healthcare practice, in healthcare practice. And these are two examples that I wanted to bring in here. We have the South African geranium, which is Pelargonium sidoides, Umklauba. Somebody could pronounce that for me. So from the Zulu medicine to the European pharmacopoeia phytomedicine, Umklauba. This is a plant that I believe many of you will be familiar with because it's used a lot as an ornamental, at least in Africa. And the extracts of these plants have been used to make herbal medicine. In Europe, we have a category of products that are called herbal medicines that are used for healthcare maintenance. But in the US, we do not have such a category. Instead, we have many of the herbal medicines that are used out there end up in the US as dietary supplements to support health rather than treat or mitigate health conditions. So you can see on the right there, we have a product from William Schwabe, which is a well-known company, very well respected. And they have a product made of Pelargonium sidoides extract that is in the market, as you can see. In the US, we have the two products on the right lower side from Nusa Pure. We have Umklauba extract. And then from Herb Farm, we have the Umklauba extract, which is a liquid extract in this case. And these are used as dietary supplements. In fact, I will tell you that many moons ago, I used to work at Herb Farm, and I actually led the team that developed this product, which is still currently in the market. So these are cases where you can see that an African plant or a plant from Africa has been used to prepare extracts that are used as medicinal material or as dietary supplements. So there is a lot of potential in African plants, and this is what we want to be able to show the world that this exists. So having said that, just examples of products that have originated from African or African endemic plants. Then of course, the next question is, what exactly are we going to be including in this special issue? So among the topics that are covered in this issue are topics on pharmacology and biological effects of organisms. And when we say organisms, we mean plants, fungi, animals, microorganisms, minerals, and substances that are used in African traditional medicines. We are looking at indigenous knowledge as relates to medicines and medicinal practices, including ethnoveterinary practices, and also for use in food and in cosmetics as well. We are looking at pharmacology and pharmacognosy of indigenous African plants, or even plants that have now were not originally endemic to Africa, but have been transplanted and now grow in Africa and popularly used. We are interested in research that has gone into looking at active principles of African traditional medicine plants. That is to say, work that is looking at antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, and any other antimicrobial properties of the plants. We would be interested in clinical trials using formulations that are based on African traditional medicine. And we are also interested in commercialization and research and development and utilization of African bioresources. So it's really a very wide catch. We are trying to make sure that we are inclusive of the great work that is going on in Africa. And we really are passionate to make sure that we give the space for this work to be recorded and to be recognized. Because we know in the coming future here, and not even in the coming future, we know that plants are now well recognized according to geopositioning, meaning that a plant is partly identified by the region from which it came from. In other words, if somebody took a plant from Africa, planted it somewhere else, and they were first to be able to do the research and record that, likely they would be recognized first before the place where the plant was endemic is recognized. And we are trying to make sure that that doesn't happen, that your work is recorded and becomes part of the fabric that people will look at in the future. So who are we targeting to make these contributions? We are interested in contributors that are anybody who has worked on African plants, whether they live in Africa or not, still that is perfectly fine, but at least one of the authors affiliated to the work should be from the continent, or at least working on plants from the continent. The plants discussed, as I mentioned, should be indigenous or naturalized on the continent. And we had an earlier submission deadline, but that was pushed to April 9th. So I think from now we still have like 2 or 3 weeks to go before we get there. And then the manuscript itself submission deadline is July 30th, which gives quite some time for you to be able to do that. And then because this is an open access journal, they always have an article processing charge. But this is something that also the journal has assured us that that they will consider on a case-by-case basis if there's a need to make some adjustments. So for additional information regarding this submission, I've provided a link there, and these slides will be available, so you can follow that link. And we hope that you'll take this opportunity to make your submissions to this journal. So again, here is the topic. And with that, I can say that if you have questions, you can approach me or approach any of the other editors, including Professor Caterere, who is here, who is the host, and we'll be happy to respond. So thank you very much. And with that, I say bye.
Yeah, it went a lot better this time. So
at least you could hear.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and see. Do we have any questions for Helen? I just have something to ask you, because you mentioned this issue of, trade in plants and things like that, and then you were talking about some of the USP outputs. And maybe this is for you and also for Anjanette. What is the appetite for African ingredients in the US? And also, how easy is it to actually move product?
Well, that's a good question. There is some appetite for African ingredients, and this is usually driven by whether that particular ingredient can be made available or whether that particular ingredient is recognized within the industry. For example, we have like frankincense is one of the products that is very much here in the market, and the USP has a quality standard for that as well. We have others, I can't remember them from the top of my head.
But how does it start? Because with frankincense, did it start with demand and then everything else follows? You know, because it's a big barrier for you to pitch a plant that's not known, right? Or that's not in demand. So, you know, do you get the demand first? Do you get Americans interested in the product and then the standards follow?
There has to be demand. There has to be demand.
Yeah.
The standards come in different ways. For example, if you are interested, if you know that you have a market, one of the things that the SHARE, which is the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act, that governs the market of dietary supplement in the US, requires that if an ingredient is new in the market, there has to be what is called a new diet ingredient notification submitted to the FDA. Okay. So perhaps that is one place that one could start, but it is not very clear in the sense that it depends on whether you have a market. If you have a market and you know that your ingredient is new, and again, there's a challenge in establishing whether something is new because we don't have a list where you can check and make sure that your ingredient is new. But suppose your ingredient is new and you want to introduce it because you have realized there's a market, then what one has to do is to submit the NDI, the new diet ingredient notification, to the FDA 75 days prior to submitting your product in the market. And within that time, the FDA will review your material and give you what is called a good day letter. A good day letter is a letter that tells you, okay, at this point in time, we do not see that there's going to be an issue with your product in terms of safety. And so when you get a good day letter, then you can go ahead and put your product in interstate commerce.
Yeah. So I think what we should do is in future probably have a webinar around that, around market entry, because, you know, at the end of the day, the African pharmacopoeia, herbal pharmacopoeia could be there, but it still will not create an industry for people here. So I think, you know, that'd be very valuable. Yeah, I was reminded. Yeah. I think we need Kalababin now more than ever, because our politicians just can't stop lying. They will all drop dead, right?
Oh Lord, don't even say that. I guess so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, okay. So thank you. What we're going to do is, because we are well on time, let's take a break. So let's come back. It's 43 past the hour. So if we come back at 48 past the hour, but if people want to stay, they can stay, because I'm also just going to play a video here that might be of interest. This is, so for the next 5 minutes, we'll just do that. Let me actually just, so people can go grab a coffee or, you know, do whatever you'd like to do. But I'll also just play this little video.